All right. This is Mike Hogan, and I'm doing the audio for my Photoshop tutorial just so that I can speed stuff up in case I run out of time. Today is April 14th, 2022. And yeah, so, basically I just want to show some tricks and stuff for making nice white background figures. And I think, as biologists, it really brings our work to life to be able to see the organisms that we work with. Here's an example where I used different pictures of eastern diamondback rattlesnake to show their different sensory input. And then I also did a figure here where I have all these different species, and I could have just listed the names, but right away your eye gets captivated by, oh wow, those are actual pictures, beautiful imagery to go along with the hard science. And at least for me, this is over here what drives doing all this over here. So for what I'm going to show you guys, it's actually easiest if you do have a solid background, but it's not impossible to do this on a not solid background. So for example, I work with a lot of these snakes, and so a nice little rig that I came up with, and you guys, if anyone wants to borrow this, just ask me and I'll give it to you to borrow. But it has these three LED lights mounted on the inside, and there's a hole just big enough for my camera. And so basically I get a picture like this, and after editing in Photoshop, you can get something like this where it's nice and clean, and you could stick it into PowerPoints or papers, whatever. So first and foremost, you're going to want to save original copies of all your pictures. So these are the ones I'm going to look at today. But just so you have this as a backup. And also, I'm going to crack a beer because this it's a beer o'clock right now. There we go. Cheers. Okay, so what we're going to do is cut these animals out of all these pictures and get them on white backgrounds. So let's copy it. I'm going to do a lot of shortcuts here, so copy is just Command-C. I'll try to speak and tell you what I'm doing as I go. So I just copy and pasted all these in here. Now they're in the edited folder. Also, if you want a quick and easy way to organize your folders, just throw number prefixes and it'll automatically sort itself. So now, before I even open up Photoshop, I'm going to basically just double click on all these and take a look. I like to look at stuff in a preview on my Mac, so I'm sure Windows Picture Viewer can do all the same stuff. But I want to basically get things as neat as possible and do some minor color adjustments, all that sort of stuff before I even open Photoshop. So the stuff I'm going to do in Photoshop is going to be very basic. So I already took a look at this, and I think I'm going to use this beetle here. So let's go ahead and crop it. So yeah, let's just go through and crop all of these. And that one's good as is. This one I'm just going to use that much. This one I'm just using the urchin. And then we could also crop this one too. This is the juvenile, I guess. Okay, so the next thing, there's some really nice basic, color adjusting. I like how simple it is, so I use this all the time. So honestly, you just mess around with it. Basically, try to make this look as close to what you are used to seeing in nature. So you want to improve the sharpness a little bit. You could do that. Or even put it down a little bit if it makes it better. This one's probably pretty close as is. Maybe we can boost the colors just a little bit. Let's see this one. Let's do a little bit more brighter. This one could use a lot more saturation and also contrast. Another thing, so I know that I'm going to be putting this one and this one in the same figure. So before you even get it in Photoshop, try to make them look as close as possible. So this one seems a bit dark. Lighten it up. And then this one, I think we actually want to go down. Yeah, so you put that all the way down, and it gets rid of the screen there. Okay, so Command S is save. So now I saved all of those. Now, what I want to do, since I'm doing multiple at once, I'm just going to right click on all of these. So actually, I meant to show you guys how to get Photoshop. So I'm not going to take you guys all the way through it, but if you just search like FSU Creative Cloud, you could do, this one's from the math department, but the instructions are the same. So, you know, there's like some a cloud thing that you have to set up. Once you have that all set up, then you can go ahead and open it with Photoshop. And what it's going to do is just basically open all of these as new projects in Photoshop. All right, so now we have all of our pictures in Photoshop. And you can see there's differing qualities on these, but more or less, these will all work fine. So starting with this one, what I do, and if your Photoshop doesn't look like this, you can rearrange it and organize it however you want. But you see over here, this is kind of where everything's going to happen. This is where your layers are going to show up. And so basically, you know, for example, if I click on this over here and do Command All, select everything, and just copy and paste, that just created a new layer. We want to leave this background alone. We don't want to touch this in case we have to go back and reference it. But now we have layer 1 to work with. So just start cutting out as much as I can around whatever it is that we're trying to, you know, to show here. So just really rough first, just to get things started. And I'm going to copy it again, paste it again. Let's turn that off. Now we can zoom in a little bit. You can see it's a little pixelated, but yeah, so since it's already pretty pixelated, it's only going to be so good. I'm just going to go ahead and just use this lasso tool and just go around and take chunks off until I have the whole thing outlined. All right, so that's using the lasso tool. That's this one here. So now let's put a white background behind it. What you can do down here is click New Layer. Just to demonstrate, let's leave it up top and click on this here. Go to Solid Color. And now I could basically do whatever background I want, but we want to do white. So go all the way up in this corner here. And obviously we covered up our thing, so we got to bring this layer below that one, and there we go. Now we have it with a white background. And just because now I'm seeing it on the white background, I kind of want to change the way it looks a little bit, so I can go Image, Adjustment, and we can change the brightness and the contrast. So let's up the contrast a little bit and put the brightness down. Yeah, I think that looks okay. I don't know, Abby can tell me otherwise. So All right, so now let's say we want to put a shadow on this guy. So we're on this layer here, so get rid of the white, and you can see where we are. So what I can do is use this magic wand tool. Even though I'm just looking at my subject here, the magic wand is really useful for also selecting blank space. So instead of using it over here, I'm going to click over here, and you can change your tolerance. And I usually have contiguous off, but you can mess with this depending on what you want to do. And I want to add a shadow on this thing. So now I basically have everything except for the insect selected. So let's switch to the box selection, and I'm going to right click and select inverse. Okay. Now I want to right click again and do feather. And let's say 3 pixels. So what that's going to do, it's going to feather this hard outline here and kind of make it fuzzy. So let's just try 3 and see what that looks like. So now I have kind of a fuzzy thing selected. Let's do another layer and put it in between the white and the bug. And let's go to the paint bucket, make it black, and then click in the middle of the bug. So that just gave it kind of a shadowy, consistent outline around the whole thing. It doesn't really look super realistic now, but it doesn't look bad. But what you can actually do, so this is my shadow layer. Let me select all of that, hit this tool right here, and then just do down arrow. And I just did that for a couple clicks. And now you see that shadow shifted underneath it, which I think looks a little bit more realistic. Yeah, we'll call this one good. So now let's do File, Quick Export as PNG. Okay, I'll just do V1. So, if I want to make multiple versions of it or change the orientation or whatever, I can always do that. So save it. And outside of Photoshop, now I have a nice example. And, again, this is a small figure, but if you think about how it's going to look in your figures, like, it doesn't really have to be big. Like, you might have, just one image like this as an icon, and that's totally fine. So let's do the next one for Abby. And same thing. I'm going to copy, paste, turn off my background, lasso. I'm going to lasso him, copy, paste, turn that off. So let's select that. I have to have the layer selected if I want to do anything to it. And let's make this more of like a vertical thing. So again, these are a little pixelated, but maybe it's all you have, and we're going to make the most of it. And so you can use the magic brush to do quick deletions if you want. Again, when it's kind of low resolution, I think it looks a little bit neater if you just go through and just get a clean cut. Here I straightened it out. All you do is while you have this selected like this, you want to click on any of these lines. And you see when I clicked on this line, this option here popped up. And so now what I can do actually is I can change different parts of this independent from the rest of it. So yeah, let's stop there. And once you finalize it, it kind of cleans up a little bit. And there we go. So now we got Abby 1 and 2. Pillar, I'm going to go ahead and start on the 2 corals. So since there's a pretty big contrast here, I can actually use, let's do 50 for the tolerance. There we go. So that actually worked pretty well. Saves us a lot of time. So here's where you might accidentally take out some of this over here. So we switch contiguous on, and it's only what touches this blob right here. Oops. Edit undo. Let's go back to our lasso. And so now that I'm looking at it, I think I'm just going to include this part right here. So I don't think I need all of this. Just delete that. Just so it doesn't look so, awkward down here, why don't we actually, we'll start with the paintbrush and just have it on like this fluffy tip. You can change the size if you want. Let's do this, and hardness, opacity, turn that down. So we're just going to basically almost like spray paint down here, but we want it to be black. So and this will make more sense in a second. So we want to kind of like fade that out. It's actually a little too much. I think that's probably good. And so now let's go ahead and switch to our eraser tool, and same thing, just keep it fuzzy, but we want to keep the opacity all the way up for this one, and just kind of round it off. So we're basically just trying to fade it so it doesn't look like, it kind of draws your eye away from the bottom here and allows you to focus up top. So just take care of that corner. And so yeah, this is kind of the artistic side of this, is like, making these sort of calls. It's up to you. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead. I don't know if I missed any spots, so just like before, select what we got. Copy it to a new layer, and yeah, let's throw our white background. Wanted to make it like the ocean. You can do whatever. And so for some reason, to me, this kind of looks like maybe a little too dark underneath. So an easy fix for that is I just go over to this layer here. It's already selected, and I could just go opacity, and I can adjust it here. So I think part of the reason is because I already have that black down there. So go back to the eraser, you can kind of touch it up. See how we just have one layer selected over here? What we can do is go up here and do edit, copy merged. That copies all the layers that are visible. Come over here, hit paste, and now it pastes all of those from the other one into a brand new layer. So, yeah, not too bad. All right, so let's finish out with this urchin here. So yeah, we have our two bugs here, insects, sorry. Two corals side by side. We also did, them individually, which is probably more useful. Got the black background urchin. I think that one looks pretty cool. Cool for screens, but obviously you wouldn't want to print that. Use up all the black ink. Here's the white background urchin, and then here's the juvenile urchin. So I think that's all I got.